I stood in the back of that ornate conference room at the Belmont Plaza in Chicago, heart pounding as Judge Evelyn Monroe opened the sealed envelope. The air felt thick, heavy with anticipation and the faint scent of polished wood and expensive cologne. It was March 15th, 2024. Exactly 3 p.m. And over 100 relatives filled the space, some faces familiar from childhood holidays, others strangers who had shown up only for the promise of inheritance. My modest navy pantsuit felt like armor, but inside I was trembling. My sister Serena was front and center. Of course, in her designer sheath dress that hugged her perfectly toned figure, her highlighted blonde waves catching the light as she whispered something to her husband Derek that made him chuckle. She had been dropping hints for weeks, texting family about how certain people were about to face a harsh reality. I'd overheard her on a call the night before. "Tomorrow's the day Lila finally learns her place in this family." The words had cut deep, but I'd long since learned to hide the sting. Judge Monroe, with her silver hair and sharp, knowing eyes, cleared her throat. Walter Bennett was a man of principle, quiet but observant. His estate will be distributed precisely as he directed. Small bequests went out first, modest sums to distant cousins, his collection of vintage watches to an uncle who had visited him regularly in his final years. My parents, Marcus and Elena Bennett, received his art collection and $120,000. They nodded politely, but I could see the disappointment flicker across my father's face. He was a prominent corporate attorney. They had expected far more. Then came Serena's portion, a set of antique jewelry pieces for Derek and $60,000. Her smile froze, cracking at the edges. She shot me a venomous glance, assuming I had somehow schemed for more. The room murmured. And to my granddaughter Lila, Judge Monroe continued, "I leave the bulk of my liquid assets, totaling $280,000, along with my personal journals and letters." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Serena shot to her feet. "There has to be a mistake."
"Dad."
"You said Grandpa was reconsidering everything last year." My father shifted uneasily in his seat. Serena turned to the room, voice rising. "This is absurd. My sister Lila is barely scraping by in her dead-end marketing job.
She's always been jealous.
Manipulative. How could Grandpa leave her more than me?" The judge raised a hand. Walter anticipated resistance. He left this letter. She broke the seal and read aloud in a steady voice. "I have watched the favoritism, the belittling, the outright cruelty toward Lila for years. She has shown resilience and integrity, while others chased superficial validation. Any contesting of this will, or pressure on Lila to share, will result in the release of documents detailing financial improprieties in the family." Serena's face drained of color. My mother clutched her handbag. The silence was deafening. I sat motionless, stunned not just by the money but by Grandpa Walter's quiet validation, the man who had played chess with me as a child, who had seen me when no one else did. I should probably explain how we reached this breaking point. Growing up in our North Shore suburban home, I was always the invisible one. Serena, for years younger, was the golden child, beautiful, outgoing, the center of every room. My mother would say, "People just gravitate toward Serena," usually with a pointed look my way. My father reserved his pride for her latest venture, while my scholarships, late nights studying, and steady promotions at Apex Marketing were met with distracted nods before the conversation swung back to Serena. She cycled through passions like outfits, influencer content, lifestyle blogging, wellness coaching, fashion hauls. None required real grind because our parents funded every pivot. "Your sister is building her brand," Mom would explain when I questioned the checks for her failed startups. Meanwhile, I sacrificed weekends climbing the corporate ladder, proving myself project after project. In October 2022, Serena called me breathless about upgrading her filming equipment to compete with the big creators. She was $18,000 short after parental contributions. It's an investment, Lila. Once I hit 6 figures in followers, sponsorships will flood in. I'll pay you back double. Against my instincts, I wired the money, nearly my entire safety net. The gear sat unused after a few lackluster posts. When I asked gently 6 months later, she acted wounded. That was a sisterly gift. I can't believe you're keeping score. My parents backed her. Focus on your own promotion instead of expecting returns. Thanksgiving 2023 stung particularly hard. I just landed a major account at work and tried sharing during dinner. That's nice, dear, Mom said, passing the mashed potatoes. Serena, tell us about your new skincare collaboration. I pushed food around my plate as she detailed sponsored posts. Later, helping clear dishes, Mom whispered, "You'll never shine like Serena. Lila, you lack that spark. But we all have roles." Christmas brought Derek's toast about family winners and the rest, with a gesture toward me that drew laughs. Serena rolled her eyes. "You're so sensitive. Lila, it's just jokes." The gaslighting was constant. I endured it all while quietly building something real. 3 years earlier, I launched Bennett Creative Partners as a side hustle, freelance strategy for small Midwest businesses. It grew into a thriving virtual agency with a tight team. To maintain the facade, I kept my day job, drove a practical sedan, lived modestly. Smart investments in tech stocks and 2 rental properties in Logan Square and Wicker Park pushed my net worth to nearly $2 million. I was a silent partner in 3 popular Chicago restaurants. 6-figure royalty checks from a patented campaign stayed secret. The secrecy started as self-preservation. It became preparation as the favoritism worsened. Grandpa Walter had been my anchor, kind, insightful, overlooked like me. "You see people clearly, Lila," he'd say during our chess games. He passed 2 weeks before the reading. Most relatives had ignored him in his decline. That afternoon after the will, I drove home in a daze, hands shaking on the wheel. Opening his journals, I found a note inside the first volume. "Lila, you have strength they underestimate. When the time comes, stand without mercy. They haven't earned your grace." I called my parents that evening, hoping for acknowledgement. Grandpa's wishes were clear. "Mom," she replied coldly. He was old, easily swayed. "Serena is devastated. We're all disappointed in you." That was the moment I stopped hoping. The next morning, I started compiling evidence, years of texts mocking me, emails pushing Grandpa to favor Serena, bank records showing diverted funds to her ventures while my student loans went unsupported. By March 20th, I sat in the sleek offices of Morrison and Associates downtown, laying out the case to senior partner David Morrison. He listened intently, reviewing screenshots, statements, and emails. "This is compelling evidence of favoritism bordering on emotional abuse and financial manipulation. We'll time the exposure for maximum impact." The opportunity arrived via a rose gold invitation to Serena and Derek's vow renewal celebration. Though married 3 years, Serena wanted a lavish recommitment with a bigger ring and social media spectacle. Set for May 10th at the Crystal Ballroom in the Fairmont Hotel, one of Chicago's most exclusive venues, it would draw over 150 guests, family, influencers, and Chicago's social set.
Perfect.
Over 6 weeks, I prepared meticulously. I reconnected with Judge Monroe, who had witnessed the family dynamics for years and agreed to assist. I spoke with my boss at Apex, who revealed Serena had once impersonated HR to probe my salary and threaten legal action when denied. Each revelation fueled my resolve. I upgraded my appearance subtly, hair styled in soft waves at an upscale salon, makeup enhancing my features. The emerald gown I chose, a $5,200 designer piece bought with my earnings, flattered my figure and brought out the green in my eyes. On the night of May 10th, my car service dropped me at the Fairmont. I paused in the lobby, breathing deeply, clutch holding a USB drive and remote. The ballroom glittered with orchids, crystal chandeliers, and twinkling lights. Serena and Derek greeted guests near the entrance. Her expression when she saw me shifted from shock at my polished look to masked disdain. "Lila, what a surprise. I wasn't sure you'd make it after." "Everything. Family is everything, right?" I replied warmly, air kissing her cheek. I mingled, exchanging pleasantries, biding my time. At 9 p.m., as toasts were scheduled, I signaled the coordinated staff. Lights dimmed slightly, a projector screen descended. Confused murmurs spread. Serena looked annoyed, approaching Judge Monroe, who had slipped in quietly. "What is this?" "It's not on the program," Serena hissed. Judge Monroe took the microphone. "Good evening. As a longtime friend of the Bennett family, I've been asked to share a special presentation on truth and family bonds." I pressed the remote. The first slide appeared, a text from Serena to Mom. "Lila is such a pathetic tryhard. Can you believe she thinks her corporate job matters? We need to make sure Grandpa cuts her out." Mom's reply, "Your father is working on it. Grandpa's getting the full picture next week." Gasps filled the room. Serena's face went white. Next slide, an email from Dad to Grandpa urging reallocation toward Serena's greater potential and needs. Then bank records of the $18,000 loan Serena never repaid, followed by texts where she and Derek laughed about dumb Lila thinking she'd see that cash again. Slide after slide exposed the pattern. Diverted family funds, cruel messages about my mediocre life, attempts to influence the will. My mother covered her mouth. My father turned ashen, scanning for escape. Derek stepped away from Serena physically. Serena screamed, "This is fake. Turn it off." Judge Monroe intervened calmly. "I have personally authenticated these documents." Walter also left journals documenting the family imbalance. Aunt Margaret stood. "I always suspected the way you treated Lila was wrong. This is shameful." Opinions shifted visibly. Judge Monroe continued. "One final revelation Walter wanted shared." The last slide displayed my company's financials, property records, restaurant partnerships, and net worth statement. Lila Bennett, successful entrepreneur worth approximately $2 million, built independently. The room erupted. Serena stared in horror, realizing her misjudgment. I stepped to the microphone, voice steady despite my pounding heart. I never wanted this confrontation. All I sought was basic respect. Instead, I faced gaslighting and dismissal my whole life. This isn't revenge, it's truth. I don't need any of you financially or emotionally. Turning to Serena, mascara streaking her face, "I've filed a $550,000 lawsuit against you, Mom, and Dad for fraud, defamation, and emotional distress. Settle quietly or face public trial. Either way, the truth wins." Dad pushed forward. "Lila, please. Family business, privately. You made my lesser status public. Now everyone knows the full story." Judge Monroe concluded the presentation. As I exited, guests parted. Cousin Emma walked beside me. "That was powerful. You okay?" "Better than ever," I said, feeling years of weight lift. The aftermath unfolded rapidly. My lawsuit moved forward, facing overwhelming evidence and the threat of public records. My parents and Serena settled for the full amount within weeks rather than risk trial. The payment provided closure, though the emotional scars remained. Their perfect veneer cracked. Mom and Dad's marriage, strained for years beneath surface harmony,
collapsed.
Divorce papers were filed within a month, dividing assets amid bitter recriminations. Serena's influencer empire crumbled fast, over 130,000 followers lost in days as clips of the ballroom presentation leaked online. Sponsors dropped her. Brand deals vanished. The vow renewal was cancelled when Derek distanced himself, unwilling to tie himself further to the toxic fallout and looming financial hits. I sent cease and desist notices when Serena tried posting veiled attacks online. She eventually took a retail job, her first genuine employment, marking a humbling shift toward potential growth. Though I kept my distance. That summer, I sold my Chicago rentals and relocated to Denver, drawn by its vibrant tech scene and mountain views. Bennett Creative Partners opened a stunning new office space overlooking the city skyline. I built genuine friendships who appreciated my true self, not projections. At a fall industry conference, I met Ryan, who ran a successful edtech startup. Our connections sparked instantly, intellectual, respectful, built on mutual admiration for resilience rather than status. Rebuilding on your terms takes courage, he said on our third date over coffee in a cozy Lodo cafe. It took months to trust fully, to let walls down after years of undervaluation. Ryan proved patient, valuing my authenticity. Emma stayed connected as one of the few positive family ties. Judge Monroe became a mentor, inviting me to her mountain cabin for holidays when family visits felt too painful. Grandpa Walter's journals offered ongoing solace. His entries revealed deep pride in my quiet strength and independence. On tough days, rereading them reminded me of his faith. It's been over a year since that May night. Through Emma, I hear Serena is rebuilding slowly with emerging humility, perhaps opening doors to reconciliation someday on my boundaries. Dad has sent cautious emails hinting at amends. Mom remains distant. I'm uncertain about full reconnection. Shattered trust rebuilds slowly, if at all. But I've found peace in my choices and firm boundaries. What I've learned is profound. Family isn't merely blood or obligation. It's the people who uplift rather than diminish, who see your worth without agenda. I lost the family I was born into but gained one forged through choice, friends, Ryan, mentors who celebrate my victories. In that exchange, I discovered self-respect, the most valuable inheritance of all.